Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the All American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh and I'm joined here with Tiana
Hey.
and the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
And we're coming down the home stretch here on our Polar Predators event. So like pretty much most of the month of January and all throughout February, we've been doing movies that have something to do with Yetis, snow monsters, that kind of thing. We've called it Polar Predators. So this is a weird one because it's cannon fodder, and best we could tell, Cannon never came out with just a straight up like Yeti snow monster type movie. So the best thing we could come up with was strictly by title, okay, and it's the movie called The Secret of the Ice Cave, which released in 1989. Like I said, strictly by title. We were just throwing darts, hoping that it had some kind of Yeti monster, something in this. It's the damn Secret of the Ice Cave, right? Mm-mm. Nope. No, we got the direct opposite of that. I don't know what the hell we just got when we watched this.
First of all, I know that none of us had ever seen or even heard of this movie before this podcast episode. And I mean, judging by the title alone, I got to say I was kind of excited for it. You know, it's canon and it's a movie called Secret of the Ice Cave. That sounds kind of, at the very least, maybe it would be something similar to Journey to the Center of the Earth, which we covered some episodes back.
Yeah.
Because you think about that Secret of the Ice Cave, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's got, and maybe they could even shoot it on some of the same sets, So I was kind of excited for it by the title alone, but that was before actually watching the damn thing.
That was before you sat down and pressed play.
Yeah.
It didn't take me long, and we'll get into it here shortly. It didn't take me long to regret this.
No.
But
I got to say, though, you get that song right off the credits. Something to do with Secret. I mean, it's tying into this. Obviously, I'm guessing composed for this movie specifically because it's mentioning secrets and it's like, shh, very 80s synth kind of sound.
Right? But Cannon was kind of known for, making a song and then using the hell out of it, right? We've joked about that tons of times throughout the Cannon fodder.
Yeah. Or at the very least, I don't know, they may not have the money behind the song themselves, but they would buy rights to a song that nobody'd really heard much of before and use it like body shots or something. I don't know. There was some song that was in Ninja 3 The Domination and at least two or three other Cannon films.
You just had to do it.
Yeah. And of course, living in a box. He lived in a cardboard, So yeah, that song existed before, but they used it in Master of the Universe. Now it's an in joke that I think just about every other Cannon episode we do, one of us, probably me, brings up that song.
One that was by the band was named
Living in a Box. Yeah, the song "Live in a Box" by the band "Living in a Box."
Oh my!
Used in at least used in Masters of the Universe, if not another Cannon film. Certainly that one.
Maybe because there was another one when we did Hot Chili. That it was a song that was in something else like that. So Cannon was known for it. So Lord knows there might be another Cannon film with this secret song in it. That maybe it makes a little more sense. I guess
Not that been some unknown '80s band artist or whatever that had they had a song called Secrets. So nobody knows this song. It's probably cheap. Let's just license it.
We've already given it more thought just the last 2 minutes talking about it than Cannon did, right? They probably were just like, they say something about secret. Okay, put it in here. That's the name of the movie. Let's get out of here. Close it up.
But one thing is we exhausted our internet searching skills trying to find out what the song is and who composed it. Because there's nothing on IMDb about it. There's nothing in the movie itself. I know Josh scrolled through the end credits just to try and find the name, and it's not in there either. So
the only one that was listed there
was
another song that was in the movie, which I didn't write down what the name of that song was, but it was done, performed, and written by Michael Moriarty. But it wasn't that song. It was a different one.
Yeah, so if any of you true fans, and I don't know how many exist, I'm guessing zero, but if there are any true fans of The Secret of the Ice Cave by Cannon out there, please in the comments let us know if you know what the song and the composer of that song.
If there was a day where we needed Austin Trunick here today, but unfortunately he couldn't send us in any his Cannon Chronicles bit. But I mean, Austin is the author of 2 books on Cannon.
Yeah,
he's got to be the world's foremost authority on everything Cannon. So if anyone would know anything,
it would be
him.
So, unfortunately, he'll give us that information. Maybe we'll get him on some other episode. If so, I'll ask him about this.
Anything at all about it, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. Before we dive in, we want to remind you to go check out aaspookshow.com. We call that the center of the Spook Show universe. From there, you can go check out all of our past podcast archives. They're all there. You can also get to our YouTube channel from there. And every month we have series over there like Video Vortex, Grindhouse Gutter, Hammer Horror in Order, uh, pretty much weekly, but every month over there on the YouTube channel, like shorter video exclusives you can only watch there. And of course, as far as exclusives go, we've got tons of those going on over at patreon.com/aaspookshow. Become a patron and you'll get bonus. Uh, we have all kinds of like bonus podcast episodes, stuff we've done from the past, bonus videos that you can only watch there. So you want to go check that out. And yes, all that can be reached very easily by going to aaspookshow.com. So, like we said off the top, none of us had not only ever seen this movie, but never even heard of it. And
No.
there's not a lot of background information on a movie like this either. Like, usually there's a little bit we can talk about, but there's just not much. There's not even a damn like release date for this movie. All I can find just came out at some point in the year 1989. That's it.
Somewhere on some format.
Yeah.
Whether it was in theaters or VHS or what at the time, I don't know. Right?
Same thing. I don't know. I mean, like all we know is that it's a Gala film production in association with Globus Pierce, and then it was distributed by Canon Releasing. So there's a pretty good chance it did get a theatrical run, although I wouldn't imagine it would have been of any note. Plays in the New York, Chicago, LA area for a week and then it's gone, maybe at best. Otherwise, it's straight to video, probably. The one thing that is kind of, I guess, interesting, at least on some level, of this one is that from the best we can tell, this was the first production that was released under the quote unquote new canon after Golan and Globus had split up. The successful team of Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus for the late 70s and the entirety of the 80s, they had broke up and they went their separate ways, and Canon was sold because they had hit rock bottom by the time the late 80s came around. And we actually did their last movie, the last official Golden Globus production was Cyborg. We did that a while back here on Cannon Fodder. So now we're hitting the other side of it. This was basically the first one that was produced after the split. It came out sometime in '89, so I assume sometime after Cyborg did. And this is that time period where they had been sold to Giancarlo Peretti, and then they never got Menachem Golan back, but they were able to get Yoram Globus to come back and help produce movies through different partnerships and stuff like that. So this is the first one under that Globus. Oh God, what was his name? Christopher Pierce production time period, right? So
and
there is
I think Ovidio Giacinitis had something to do with the company at some point during this time too, I believe, or after, I forget. But
yeah, I think he was kind of the lead producer guy. Kind of, I guess he had kind of taken Golan's spot, and it was under this like who actually owned it was Giancarlo Peretti, and I'm assuming some combination of creditors or something, like God knows what, once again, Austin would know more about how that all went down, but this was after rock bottom. This is after Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. It like basically ruined it. And then, it slowly, and Masters of the Universe, right? Yeah. Other movies that we've already talked about and we enjoyed, but those movies were really like, had sucked the life out of canon. And by this point, it's the sad days have begun, right?
At this point, you're begging for Superman 4, The Quest, or even that journey to the center of the earth I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was something to do that with this time period. It was after MGM Pathé. Well, this was before that, but MGM Pathé had collapsed in 1992, and then Globus returned, like I guess full on to produce films for Canon up until '94, and then after that, it's just basically doesn't exist. Yeah. I think there was some stuff, but it basically didn't exist after that. So this is that weird time period. This is the beginning of it, where like stuff probably kind of looked like it did in the '80s, but not really. And you can see that in this, right? Like just as far as the production value was just not good.
Oh yeah. It's night and day compared to even just, again, the movie I mentioned earlier, Journey to the Center of the Earth, or Cyborg, which was a very recent, very close to this movie, this time period, not in production. But yes, night and day compared to the production of this, say, to Cyborg, which was only a year or a few months or so before this one.
Mm-hmm. This one was directed by a director I'd never heard of, Radu Gabriel.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I mean, like when you go on IMDb and you look at like some of the other stuff he's done, I've never really heard of much of any of this other stuff. So I'm assuming he was from an, maybe a lot of his productions were in other countries. Like there was one called Romania. Another one in 1970 called Too Little for Such a Big War. So like these are movies I've never heard of, but he's the guy that directed this. And oh boy,
Yeah.
it was written by Mike Werb. He's another one that like you're not going to see. I mean, he has done some stuff, but like that were he wrote a lot of stuff that was a lot better than this. But he doesn't have like a massive slate of credits. But he did, or at least he was one of the writers on the Nicolas Cage Travolta classic Face Off. He was one of the writers of that. Which that's crazy, right? Well, I guess 8 years later, from Secret of the Ice Cave, he's writing. He's one of the writers on Face Off. He actually did the first Tomb Raider movie too. You know, the one with Angelina Jolie, Lara Croft Tomb Raider in 2001. So at least he did move on to some other.
Move on to something much better than Secret of the Ice Cave, at least.
Yeah, and it stars Sally Kellerman, Michael Moriarty, David Mendenhall. Kind of weird in that you get Sally Kellerman and Michael Moriarty. Not that they're top-notch names. They've done way better stuff. Right now, they get them to do this. I don't know.
Yeah, they. I mean, for the time period, they had done quite a bit of stuff up to that point. You know, much better movies up to that point. Again, like you said, they weren't top billed actors and actresses, but they were in a lot more decent stuff than this. So
yeah, I mean, Sally Kellerman, not long before this, she was opposite Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School. Just a few years prior. And of course, she was the original Hot Lips Houlihan, not in MASH, not the show, but the original MASH movie.
The movie, yeah.
And Michael Moriarty. I think the one thing that always sticks out in my mind with him is was it Q the Winged Serpent?
Yeah.
And that movie that's one that we definitely got to get to, right?
Yeah, definitely got to get that on because I mean
that movie is bad
awesome.
shit. He's crazy in it. Like it doesn't even his role in it doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense, but he sticks out for sure, right?
Yeah. And that director, that was a Larry Cohen movie. Did It's Alive? Is that what the word? Those movies.
Which I don't think we've done any of his stuff on the show. No. We need to change that for sure. But yeah, I mean, like it's rated PG-13. There's no particular release date. This has got to be one of the biggest things that this movie has going against it. The total runtime is 1 hour and 46 minutes, and man, it fucking feels like.
Oh yeah, it feels like about double that. God. I remember watching it. Like how much longer is left? Because we don't own this movie, and I will never own this movie. But I don't know that it's ever even been available on any format to watch outside of where I think we just watched it on some streaming service or whatever. But
on VHS or something at least, it had to have been.
Yeah. Oh, back in the day, yeah. But I mean, recently, has anybody actually bothered putting this thing on DVD? I don't think so.
No way.
But yeah, I remember asking how much longer is it? Hit the scroll bar and see, and it felt like we'd already been watching it for an hour, but there's still like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
15 minutes into this thing.
I was like 30, 40 minutes in. I'm like, fuck, man, it's got to be about done. And then it's like there was still more than half. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that there's like conclusionary kind of things going on. So you're like, it must be wrapping up about. And you look at the scroll bar. It's still 30 more minutes left. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, I remember one distinctly when they got, well, I'll say this: we're about to spoil it. So if for some reason you haven't watched it or ever want to watch The Secret of the Ice Cave, or you're like us and you've never heard of it and now you want to watch it, just be aware we are going to spoil it. But when you finally get to the part where they're in the cave, it's like, oh well, surely like this is it. This is the third act. This is the final. And you look and it's still like 25 minutes.
Well, and then you're thinking, well, maybe we'll get a good 25 minutes in the ice cave.
No.
The whole movie is called Secret of the Ice Cave, and that's the whole reason why it was kind of excited to me. Like, I never heard of this canon film. We're going to be in these ice caves. It's going to be cool. Stuff going on under there and all that. And no, you get like whatever time. Was it 2 minutes? They get to the mouth of this cave, and it's like
in an actual cave. Yeah, it's less than 5 minutes.
The actual cave. Yeah. The ice, of course, is just some spray paint or airbrush painted whatever set of like the ice, with the crystalline look to it
I
or
don't
whatever.
think they ever actually claim that it's ice, right? I think they call it some kind of crystal or something.
Yeah. And then there's a plot device there. They find something there, right? And that's it. That's all you get really of the quote unquote ice cave. Very
Like I said,
disappointing.
the main reason that we put it in the polar predators thing was the hope that, like, okay, well, there's an ice cave.
There's probably gonna be some creatures in this ice cave,
Yeah,
a la turning to the center of the earth.
maybe there is an ice monster. Mm-mm. No, this ain't that kind of movie, brother.
No, it's not. It's not one single supernatural monster. There's nothing that you would, I don't know what you expect when you hear a title "Secret of the Ice Cave," but I definitely expected more than what this movie gives you. I expected something under there in the caves. Not a Yeti. I'm saying with most of our polar predators have been Yeti movies by design. A few that have been just other winter related creatures, but there's not one single creature in this movie that's supernatural or folkloric or whatever. So
Yeah, this
it
is
was the
definitely
closest that we could get in there though for canon.
one of those movies that's not helped by the title. Like, you give me
Yeah,
5 minutes after watching this, and I could come up with at least a few titles that make more sense.
yeah. They might not
This
grab you,
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a
but
genius or anything, but like something that makes more sense to what you're watching. You know,
yeah.
Two Teenagers in a Desert would have been a better a better title. Because that's the other thing too. Like, most of this is in it. Like, the movie is filmed in Chile, and they don't make a secret of that, right? Like, I think that's where
Yeah,
they are in the movie, correct?
yeah. I mean, you fly to Chile to set up a movie and all. You should come up with something better than this.
You would think.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of the stars that I mentioned a minute ago, David Mendenhall. Donnie's not here to give his canon connections, but the first and only real good connection that we have with David Mendenhall is Over the Top. He's
Oh yeah,
Stallone's kid in Over the Top, and
yeah. Oh,
you can
yeah.
tell he's definitely like 3 or 4 years older. Like, he's not,
Mhm.
you know, he's not
Yeah,
quite the same as, kid as he was in that one,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, that's it. That's your best connection right there. I was like, okay, what's the kid from Over
Yeah.
the Top? Maybe this is halfway decent.
No. Well, one thing is for sure. Golden Globus as a team worked much better than Golden Globus separate and individual.
Well, I mean, like,
Yeah,
if this is the first example we have of it,
yeah. I don't know what's come after it because I don't know how many I've seen of these later era canon films. Not many. I mean, maybe very well have been Cyborg was the last one I saw of
you
that
know
era.
what? Yeah, I got one right here. I've got one right here. Rockula.
Oh, we saw it. That was later on.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's
that.
better. Even we pretty much gave that a low rating, I think, overall, right?
We did not like it.
Yeah, yeah, and it was.
Kind of
It was
of it.
no. In retrospect, it's probably one that
Yeah.
if you could see certain movies that come after, you might even readjust your scale of some of the ones you gave bad ratings to before.
Yeah.
When it gets down to something, I've been trying to do that myself. We kind of give these canon films, we give them higher scores than other movies because they're canon, and they're crazy, whatever. But they did produce some real stinkers like this one.
There was some success after that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah,
actually, just sitting here looking at the list, if you were looking at it, you would understand. Like, this might be the beginning of it, and
we got
this
better.
one was not good, but it did get better after that. There were some other ones, like, I mean, obviously we didn't like Rockula that much, but it's way better than this, right? But
Yeah,
they actually came out with Delta Force 2, American Ninja 4, which I don't know what the quality was at that point. Delta Force 3, American Kickboxer. I remember that one not being
yeah,
horrible, right? So, like,
yeah.
there's some in there that we'll find over time, but yeah, not. And they did have something to do with Walker Texas Ranger at that point too, when that show started, because
It
Chuck
started.
Norris's connection with
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah,
They did have something to do with that after that. So there are things, but for the most part,
yeah,
this ain't classic canon anymore. That's for sure.
and they never got their Spider-Man. I mean, a lot of people know this, but some may not know it. But the reason why it took so long for a Spider-Man movie to get made is because Canon was sitting on the rights to it
Hmm.
for so long, right? And they kept promoting that they're going to be making one, and they're going to be making one, and then it never. Even to the fact that they would go to Cannes Film Festival like they always did, and promote movies that weren't even made, or that they didn't even have a script for yet, and they did that with Spider-Man. It never panned out, and then they finally, I guess, I forget the whole story, but I don't know if it's when they went under or whatever. They sold the rights away finally, and then eventually, of course, Sam Raimi made his Spider-Man movie, but that was because
Sony.
taking so long holding
So I
on to the
guess at
rights.
some point either the rights reverted back to Marvel and they sold it to Sony, or Canon did.
Yes.
But yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't involved anymore after like the mid to late '90s. It was Sony
Yeah.
from then. But if only we had got that.
I wish they had produced, because man, a Canon. I mean, there's already a crazy kind of goofy '70s Spider-Man, and anybody who knows that knows, the TV movie series or whatever.
Late
And that
70s.
thing is crazy on its own, but Canon probably would have. I mean, the Spider-Man effects probably would have been no better, but the storyline probably would have been more batshit crazier than that one. Because as much as I nostalgically like that Spider-Man TV series, it's pretty bad. Nothing much goes on, and when the action's on screen, it's very weak and weakly choreographed and all that. But I just think Canon would have like upped the batshit, crazy and meter a little bit higher than that series did.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say it would have been better than that shitty 1994 Fantastic Four movie that was.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
God, I'm blanking on who was the producer behind it?
Roger Corman produced it. I forget who directed it. He directed it. I'm not sure who was directing it, but he was attached to it and named producer. Man, that thing was.
Canon Spider-Man would have been better than that.
But that being said, that Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie is still more entertaining than The Secret of the Ice Cave.
Yes, without question. Getting back to the point on the table here is this movie sucks.
We got to talk about this movie again.
Yeah.
I was trying to go down the rabbit hole and get us off of it, but we're back.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Secret of the Ice Cave. Son of a bitch. For you listeners of the All American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. And to further the point that you can go on audible.com and search for anything and probably find something, here's another example of it. I just typed in Secret Ice Cave to see what would pop up, and damn if we didn't find 3 results. One of them is a Warhammer book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's called Caves of Ice.
Oh, yeah.
Cephas Kane, is that how you say his name? Cephas Kane, Warhammer 40,000, Book 2 by Sandy Mitchell. And that one is just under 7 hours long. Then we have The Ice Cave, A Woman's Adventures from the Mojave to the Antarctic by Lucy Jane Bledsoe. That one's just over 6 hours long. Then the last one is Ice Cave by Toby J. Nichols. And that one's just under 3 hours long. So they're all brief listens there. But yeah, sure enough, you can type in just about anything. I think we've proven that over the years on Audible, and you'll find something, right?
What do you get if you plug in Ice Hole? No, I'm kidding. Don't plug that in.
I don't know if I want to throw off my computer algorithms that
okay.
Way. But yeah, anyway,
the Ice Hole ones.
If you want to go download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So now I'm going to hop back over to IMDb and see if we can I would be surprised if there's more than one synopsis on the plot summaries over.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I don't foresee there being like 3 or 4 paragraphs like some movies. Yeah.
No. And predictably, we have the one sentence one. That's all we got. A group of treasure seekers embark on an expedition into high adventure as they race to discover what's really located in the mysterious ice cave. That is not.
Well, all I got to say to that is
what this movie is.
They have a low bar for high adventures.
Yeah. Or what they're actually looking for is an ice cave. I hate to say that I'm disappointed that they never found an ice cave because I didn't care. But you at least like want to see them deliver on the promise, right?
Yeah. And like I said, all you get is the mouth of a quote unquote ice cave that was probably some leftover. Actually, I don't know. Maybe they built this set. Maybe this part of this cave part could have been in California, and it could have been the same set they used for Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Plot wise, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. Okay. So think about, and this just came to mind. It just thought of that when you said something about the opening of the cave or whatever, right? So the whole movie is about them fighting over this map that takes you to the cave, right, where there's supposed to be treasure. They eventually find that cave, and then as soon as they find that cave, the bad guys have already been doing stuff in this cave. So why would the bad guys be chasing after these kids looking for this cave
Yeah.
that they already know fucking exist? They work. They operate out of the cave. What do you think? At some point they'd be like, "Hey, wait a minute! The cave they're looking for is the one that we go to every other day for our cocaine."
So what are the odds that we already had found it?
Yeah. So that just blew up the whole movie in my mind. Like whatever was left, no, it's done. This movie's horseshit. The end. Um, there was another thing too. Like I noticed, well, not noticed here, but like you start putting it together, like, and it just came to mind when I started watching this one. Almost all 80s flicks made it cool to steal from your parents. You ever notice that? Like right at the beginning,
Yeah.
like he stole the dude's wallet and like goes and cashes in at the ATM.
Yeah.
And there's another thing they did in the 80s too, is like every other kid was a fucking hacker. Or at least
Oh,
on
yeah.
low level, like a base level computer hacker, right? I guess they figured like I guess the thought process of the old dudes making these movies back then is like, well, kids know computers, so you give them an inch, they can take a mile. They can just hack. They just know
Yeah.
how to get into all technology at this point because they're kids.
Yeah. I mean, well, one big movie based on that was War Games, right?
Yeah. At least they made that one make a little bit more sense than this, though.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
no. Yo, that one's like
he
head to
seems
tails
to have
above
no
this.
base level of what the hell a computer really does, but somehow he can and then use it to do like weird things like a computer. Wasn't he asking it questions and
Mhm.
it trying to triangulate shit? Like, well, if I fall at this rate and go this fast, and like it was just weird stuff that he would do with
Yeah.
the computer, or ask it simple questions and stuff. But that was always not always a thing, but it was a thing in a lot of 80s movies, and I guess early 90s too, right? Was kids know computers, so they can hack the shit out of some
Yeah.
stuff, get in the
What
bank
was
account.
that? Was it a Disney movie? That one called Daryl?
Yeah,
Was that about? Had to do with the computer too, right? It's been forever since I've seen that. I just remember the cover,
think so.
DARYL, like
Yeah.
acronym, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, tons of movies that are kids and computers, or of course the video game thing, like Last Starfighter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
I do like the pilot on the plane. Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
it seemed like there needed to be another little mini movie about that dude. Like that would
yeah.
have been
That was some zaniness there, like some canon zaniness. Well, I mean, more low budget canon zaniness than you would expect. When they don't have a name actor to do something, you get these little crazy roles like that guy. Only
Yeah.
there wasn't enough of that. Yeah.
But I would appreciate watching like I ain't saying a full length feature film about him, but like I think that
More
dude's star would have been more entertaining than what we got
Yeah.
after. I like when he was poisoned too. He's just like whoa as he's flying the plane, but he lives just enough to dump the exposition of you need to be a rocket scientist and go to the cave. And then that's a whole thing throughout the movie. He kept saying rocket scientist, rocket scientist. And then at least they did make that make sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoke, I'm sure you probably had access when you were a kid, or at some point in the '80s, to that computer program that had Naughty Letitia. Remember on
Well, now I remember Leisure Suit Larry.
the
It's kind of similar-ish, I guess.
close enough,
Uh,
but it's.
Was that Letitia? That thing that was made for the movie though, or was that a real thing?
I assume it was. Good Lord, I've never heard of it. If so, I mean, like,
I know.
I would imagine it was just some horse shit they made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like on a floppy disk. I love the floppy disk. I haven't seen
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
in a while, but
Yeah.
the floppy disk, he puts it in, and it's supposed to have the map on it, but all it has is this like semi pornographic cartoon character called Naughty Letitia, like stripping.
Trying to think, and I graduated in '92, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to think what I mean. We had the most basic of literally basic computer class back then, but computers as a kid, the closest thing I remember having in that era would be like the Texas Instruments, and I don't remember what the model number was, but I remember it had a keyboard and it had video games that you push into it like cartridge style, like Atari. Alpiner. I remember there was some kind of Alpiner game where you're climbing the mountain, avoiding cougars and mountain lions and things of that, and falling rocks or whatever. But then you could also type code in this. I remember typing code.
Yeah.
It could take you almost. It felt like hours to type in this code and make the worm go across. This really terrible looking worm go across the screen. You thought it was cool as shit.
Yeah.
But also, you had to go back and find the shit that you didn't put in right. You didn't put the right
Yeah.
bracket here or there, and then it wouldn't work, and you had to go back and find all through this code to find what it's basically teaching you code or whatever. But yeah, I remember having that stuff, and that was the closest we had to computer back then that we could afford, anyways.
So they've got the map, and they eventually get the girl and the boy, of the story here. They're on an adventure to find this treasure, whatever the hell they're doing here. They've got a map, and on there's something about having to. They open up this little tin or something, right? They open up a box and there's a scorpion in there, and the instruction is to put the scorpion on the map, and then it will, I guess, point in the right direction or some nonsense. When they do this and they show the shot of the map, there's a picture of a scorpion on the map. So like, why did they actually have to take a real scorpion and place it? The scorpion didn't do anything. It just kind of sat there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it goes this way."
Somebody's like, "Oh, it'd be cool if we had a real scorpion."
Yeah.
How do we get that?
Now this is like we have something of an entertaining idea here with the scorpion, but we have no way to execute it.
Yeah.
We don't really know what the fuck to do here with this. So just place it on this picture of a scorpion on the map, and it was already pointing the way. You didn't need a real scorpion. I think it was around that time period that I came to the conclusion this is just shitty Goonies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much what this is. It's just really shitty, bad Goonies, right? Because you've got
The worst.
the two like teenage kids that are kind of on this adventure towards, they're on a quest, right? And then there's two bumbling bad guys, robbers, whatever, that are
Yeah.
following them along. It's Goonies with just less kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Less kids, less script, less money.
Less interest, less everything.
More boredom.
Just more desert. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of the Pacific Northwest, you're in the Chilean desert. That's
Yeah, you go to Chile, and you got all these mountains. You only use the mountains very sparsely, but you're in the desert where you could have been anywhere. You could have been right next door to California or in parts of California.
Yeah.
To shoot that stuff, But whatever.
They must have got some kind of tax credit or some kind of
break for going. Yeah.
Or just could do it really cheap there or something. There has to be some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Using Chilean labor for the technical stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that part too when they're in the cemetery, and that's when they realized rocket scientist. What that guy meant was this tombstone of a rocket scientist. What was it, Olga Volga or whatever the hell the name was?
Oh, Olga Volga. Yeah.
But it just so happened
something about her building rockets for Stalin was engraved on.
It was on the tombstone. Yeah. Made rockets for Stalin.
Oh, she was a ballerina too, a dancer and a rocket scientist, or
once again. Now I'd be more interested in the movie about Olga Volga or whatever her name was. That sounds
Olga be building rockets for Stalin.
But so they put this together, and there just so happens to be some cases of old dynamite that some dead miners had left, right there. So he takes the lighter and throws it in there.
Right? Yeah, he says, "Hey, you got to smoke? I want to smoke."
Yeah, the cigarette. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, cigarette. And then the guy's like, "I'm a doctor. Those are bad for you," kind of thing. And he's like, "Oh, whatever. Here you go."
So he throws the cigarette in there and blows the dynamite up. I just love that, like, they use this to escape death because otherwise they're about to be executed by these two robbers.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill anybody. It just gives like the robbers like the black face, like
black dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just have dirty faces, and then they don't run away though. They just kind of meander away. Like, well, that took care of them, and they just kind of walk away, and then like go over the ridge and sit down. They don't keep going to try to get away. They're just like, well, they're not. I don't see them, so we're good.
Yeah.
The train part where they're running across the top of a train, and there's the one guy that's wearing the cowboy hat is following them in the truck.
Yeah.
And I just love that part where they've basically escaped, and the guy is just laughing maniacally I don't know what he's laughing at. He's just laughing maniacally while he's driving this truck, and then just drives straight to a water tower. But I just love, like, he's like, no, look, it's right there. You need to stop. And the guy's like, for no reason, just bam. Also, that same scene. Well, it was right after that because remember that's how Alex, the main kid, he gets shot by one of the guys and he falls off the train. So Olga is the. Oh no, I'm sorry, Olga Volga. Ona.
I'm in the picture.
Ona is the girl that is his love interest, whatever the hell she is here. She jumps off the train to check on him. She doesn't really seem too concerned that, or like upset that he's probably dead because he just got shot in the chest.
Yeah.
And what saved him was like the Rolex that he had stole or something, right? Like it just so happens to be like right there where the dude shot. He hits the Rolex. I'm okay. Hit the Rolex, takes a lick and keeps on ticking. Oh, I think I figured out what the massive barrels of cocaine, what that was. I think that was what the writer and the crew were using. I think they found their stash. I think that was really their massive cocaine stash, and then that at least that would explain this movie, right? They were just enormous barrels of cocaine.
Like, who's got time for writing the scripts? All kind of other shit to do.
I guess that's why they call it the ice cave, because that's what it was, right? It was just a cave of cocaine. So
the crystals were coke. Yeah,
just call it the ice cave. It's just fucking just full of cocaine. Oh, another subplot of this movie is there's like a poison spider that's like a sleep spider or something, right?
Oh yeah, the tarantulas put you to sleep.
So I guess it doesn't kill anybody, right? It just once it bites you, you just fall asleep.
Yeah, to the sound of cartoonish snoring too.
Well, even at the end, like, well, the kids have survived this ordeal, and let's take they've got the bad guys. They're not dead; they're just asleep on gurneys, and they're just carrying them away. They got bit by the spider.
And you wouldn't know they were asleep if they didn't put those loud snoring effects.
No, of course not. No, you would never know unless you heard this Three Stooges style snoring. It's not like the spider was subtle either. It's like a hand-sized fucking tarantula.
It also wasn't a real tarantula. Well, there was some scenes of real tarantulas, but it was on the body on the person. It was like some sort of, robot, not even robotic, just the best approximation of a fake tarantula they could get.
Oh, I love that too. At the very end, when he covers that, so basically the main bad guy ends up being the kid's Alex, his future stepdad. Right? There's this whole fucking subplot with the spider. I don't know what the fuck, right? Who cares? But it's just this whole subplot with spiders, and his mom is a researcher of the spiders, and this guy's trying to marry her so she can be a cover for their cocaine dealing, and it's just a fucking mess. But he covers the dude in cocaine after he knocks him out or whatever the hell he did to him, and then the line was, "That was for the kids of America." I was like, well, the end. No, there was still like 10 minutes left, but
yeah, then you look and it's like still 30 minutes to go. No?
Yeah. Well, that's a nice way to wrap it up. That's for the kids from America. Yeah, I get it. It's almost like one of the Missing in Action movies was kind of like that too, right? Where it's like, I'm going to save these kids just for, the future, the future kids of the world or some bullshit. But then you get the weird family love affair thing at the very end. So moving forward, they got a weird dynamic going on because now the mom is in love with Michael Moriarty's character, the hippie dude that just, went down there to study something and then he just stayed there, has a kid. So now she's in love with him, who has a daughter who is now in love with the kid. That basically means that stepmom and stepdad are about to hook up and the kids are about to hook up and they're all cool with this. As they run away from the airport, the end. Oh, there was the one thing too where like these diamonds, these blue diamonds that they've been looking for the entire movie have been inside the necklace that own the entire time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cannon. You just wasted an hour and 40 something minutes of my life when all she had to do was look down at her necklace. Oh, what do you know? God almighty. There you have it. Secret of the Ice Cave. Tiana, we'll let you get started.
Well, this will be
on this one now, remember, before we continue, we do Cannon. We can do Cannonball. 0 through 5, just like stars, except we're grading it on the canon curve, so to speak. So does that help it or hurt it? What do you think?
Don't matter.
True.
It's
You're
going
probably
to be 0 for me.
wow.
I think that's my first 0 for the canon.
I think so. Let me check. Yeah. I don't think anyone's actually given a 0. There have been some that were pretty close, like Emmanuel 4, I think, got a quarter of the cannonball, but yeah, no, it's for 0. Smoke, what do you think?
Oh God, I mean, yeah, it's terrible. It's not even good in the canon way. Like most of our like we grade on a curve because canon movies are not necessarily. I mean, with a few exceptions that we maybe haven't gotten to yet, are actually very well made films. I know Runaway Train. We haven't done that yet.
No.
Is kind of held up as an actual really well made canon film.
Yeah.
But Missing in Action and all those movies, some people would consider them bad films or whatever. We love them. I mean, these are canon films. They're just done in that canon style, and we grade on a curve because to grade them against certain other movies, yeah, you might not consider it to be a masterpiece or anything. But for canon, something like Missing in Action is a masterpiece, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is absolute. This would have fit on Crapsterpiece that we used to do. We don't do anymore for sure. That's where something like this movie would belong, I think, because it's not even good and it's so bad it's good kind of way, or in a sort of entertainingly bad kind of way at all. It's just terrible. And I keep comparisons earlier. I was bringing up like Journey to the Center of the Earth, where you got a similar kind of title, Secret of the Ice Caves. You expect them to go into the caves, and as we mentioned, it's only maybe a minute or less, maybe 2 minutes at most. I don't know, somewhere in there. It's not much time. The hour and 45-minute runtime, only maybe 1 to 2 minutes spent anywhere near a cave.
Yeah.
So terrible. What you really get is just absolute boredom for an hour and well, maybe I'll say an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe there's 5 minutes
Yeah.
worth of stuff in here that's like holds your attention all overall, and then it's not all together. It's all spread out, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll fall short of giving it a 0 because I want to give a little bit of leeway to. God forbid there's anything worse than this in canon, but we may find it. We may find worse. I guess I'll go with the. What's that?
I said I'm sure we will eventually, but this has got to be.
Sure, hope not, but I'm sure we probably will, which is why I want to give a little bit of leeway in here for this one. I guess I'll give it. I don't know. I don't know what I've given the lowest canon score to before. That would.
I will tell you the lowest one you've ever given out, Smoke, was Emmanuel 4, and you gave that half a cannonball.
Okay, well, that was better than this movie. Even we talk shit about Emmanuel 4, but it was better than.
At least there was sex, I guess. I guess there's that.
There's snakes.
There's no reason to do that. God.
But yeah, it will hold your attention better than this movie. Even the shittier scenes of that movie were better than the best scenes of this movie. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with a quarter. At least that gives me a little bit of a bottom, but not going. I don't want to give this movie more than it deserves, and it probably doesn't even deserve that. But I'll give it a quarter of a cannonball.
Look, I'm gonna say a half a cannonball, and that's only because I gave Emmanuel 4 a quarter of a cannonball. Yeah. And as much as I hated this, and I never want to watch this again, it's a better movie than Emmanuel 4. Emmanuel 4 is just sex scenes, edited together, right? So I guess that just depends on what you're in the mood for. Do you want basically a porno, or do you want something that resembles a movie? Okay, we'll go with Secret of the Ice Cave. Either way, yeah, I think, and this is with me watching a lot of canon flicks that we haven't done. And I'm sure Smoke, both y'all have watched plenty too. I'm having a hard time coming up with one that I probably will hate more. And you guys mentioned off air before we started recording the Apple.
Oh yeah. We haven't seen that yet. I know you have.
It is bad. It is bad, but it's still better than this. At least that one has production value and something.
Yeah, they were actually trying. That was at the beginning of their canon career. They were trying.
You could see that. You could see with that one there was like a hope that, like, well, maybe people love musicals, right? You never know, but no, it just it's asinine. But this one is just like, it's like they had some kind of contractual obligation to make a movie.
Yeah.
Well, we got to make something. Put it out. We still got
We
that
got to
kid.
pick up that shipment of coke. We got to pick up that shipment of cocaine.
Yeah,
Just
that's
put
what
a
this
movie
was.
around somehow.
That's what this was. It was a reason to ship cocaine. So they just filmed the movie around it. They had to figure out a way to get the coke.
We got to get the
Chile
Go-Go
to
Boys
the United
going here.
God. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. So that leaves us with all that being said, that leaves us with a consensus of, even with Tiana 0, a quarter of a cannonball. So I believe, hold on, let me check. I'm not good at the mathing. Yeah, this is our lowest cannon fodder movie. It's even lower on average than Emmanuel 4 was. Believe it or not. And that was 0.4. So just barely. Just barely. This is the worst of cannon fodder. So it'll be interesting to see Donnie, maybe Will, if they watch, well, I know Donnie did watch it. He just wasn't able to join us for this. So we'll get his 2 cents, see if he liked it any. I doubt, I'd be surprised if he liked it any more than us, but you never know. And then maybe we'll get some opinion from Austin and maybe some more facts from Austin on this one. That would be nice. But otherwise, we're going to leave it there in the dustbin. Donnie's not here to give his canon connections, although, like I said earlier, the kid from Over the Top. So there's at least that off the hand, right? Because I can't think if anyone else in this movie was in something else that we watched. Because I don't think we've done any Michael Moriarty movies.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think so. So like, he's probably the only connection. Other
And
than
most of the crew was probably local, right? Chile. I mean, it probably wasn't your typical
Yeah.
Canon crew.
no, I don't think so. No, and plus too, you're past the Golden Globus days, so like,
Yeah.
they may not have had the same guys kind of working on shit like they did, for the decade prior. So I'd say that's about it. So that's it, and we're almost done with Polar Predators, but not quite yet. I mean, we've got our stuff going on YouTube, but next week we're going to be wrapping it up here on the podcast proper. It was Will's pick, and the only criteria he had, other than just it had to be a Polar Predators movie, is that it had to be a recent one. And our new rotation, recent, is within the last 5 years. And it was tough coming up with some flicks that that fit the criteria of the last 5 years. But he found one, and that is Abominable from 2020. So this is at least the second Abominable movie that we've watched over the last.
Yeah.
And the third, if you count the Abominable Snowman, right? The one from.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So the thing that I think we've learned over this event is that they really love to use the word abominable when talking about snowmen. It's just like it's a given. Like that word is going to be attached to it for one reason or another. So yeah, we're going to be watching that next week, and then that will pretty much put a bow on Polar Predators after that. And then we'll get back to Colt Corner and onward and upward to regularly scheduled programming, right? And so I guess that's it. So for Donnie and Will, who couldn't be with us, Tiana, Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All American Spook Show, and we'll talk to you next week for Abominable.
Bye bye.
Later.